Thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of motorcycle enthusiasts came over the Black Hills into Sturgis, South Dakota for the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, and many thousands of said motorcycle enthusiasts decided to attend a stacked WCW pay-per-view card where Jay fucking Leno, the big chin king of late night talk, got an armbar on Hollywood Hulk Hogan for a fucking minute while all the media was there taking pictures. Oh, this is great for wrestling. This is great for wrestling. Yeah, so great for wrestling. Seeing a guy that's not a fucking athlete, he's great at what he does, a talk show host, gain an armbar on the biggest talent at that point, maybe besides Stone Cold Steve Austin, but Hollywood Hogan, Hulk Hogan, whatever you want to go by, Terry Boulder, he had been a big name, one of the biggest names for a number of fucking years, and this guy is selling for Jay fucking Leno. And to cap off this pay-per-view that people fucking paid for, Jay Leno got the pinfall on Eric fucking Bischoff. By the way, this is the pay-per-view people paid for, but the people in attendance, nope, it was free of fucking charge. Gee! Why was WCW losing money by 1999? I can't figure out why this company went out of business a number of years later, less than 3 years after this event. And they were cooking in 1998. And then they were barely cooking with gas by the beginning of 1999 because of mismanagement and a whole bunch of bullshit. Oh, let's just get to it. I'm John Renton with the Retro Review, WCW Road Wild 1998. Can you figure out how I feel about this event? I didn't like this event when I first saw it, and unfortunately, a lot of it hasn't aged all that well. There are a couple matches that actually weren't that bad. But the visual of the Black Hills in Sturgis, South Dakota, yeah, great. Okay, that was cool. But it didn't justify having four straight years of pay-per-views there. Hog Wild 96, Road Wild 97, Road Wild 98, Road Wild 99. And by 1999, they had moved to a smaller venue and everything, and they still had a crowd that mostly sat on their fucking hands. And that's the thing about this crowd. I wonder how much editing had to be done with the crowd, because it was predominantly bikers that probably weren't the most progressive thinkers, so I have to think with a couple of these matches there were probably a few, aka a lot of racial slurs, possibly. Stevie Ray and Booker T talked about that, I believe, from the 1996 edition of Hog Wild, but nevertheless, yeah, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, Sturgis, South Dakota, 8,500 fans, apparently. This was the tagline. Road fast, road, not as in rode my bike, but road as in paved road. Road hard, no one knows where this road goes. Who the fuck came up with this shit? How many drugs were they on? Who the fuck came up with this? I just want to talk. Fucking goddamn hell, they should have been arrested for that tagline. Jay Leno in a wrestling ring. It's somehow worse than you imagine. Sadly, not the worst thing on this show, though. Shivani Hina and Mike Tenay on commentary. Mean Gene was on his trikey. I miss Mean Gene. I miss Bobby Heenan. And Mean Gene would do his usual stuff, but Mean Gene was always up for anything, and he made just about anything work. What didn't work was Ming versus the Barbarian with Jimmy Hart, and the Faces of Fear explode. I love Ming. Barbarian's also tough. This wasn't good. They sent this out because Ming had returned after a bit of time off, injury, or whatever it was. And there was a cool belly-to-belly off the top, but the crowd sat on their goddamn hands. That is probably because they were all fucking tired, or drunk, or likely high. Or they just didn't want to watch brown people beat each other up. They wanted to do it. Possibly. I'm making a bit of an assumption about some of these bikers, but I don't think I'm too far off. So, Tonga Death Grip for 3. Jimmy Hart and Hugh Morris come in. Well, Hugh Morris runs down. They had, by the way, a paved road set up, and it was a ramp and everything, and it was a long ramp. It was a long way to the ring. Jimmy Hart does the splash, and Hugh Morris does his No Laughing Matter moonsault. Yeah, Hugh Morris's attempts at comedy were no laughing matter. The way he treated trainees were no laughing matter either. Fuck Hugh Morris. Fuck Bill DeMott. Ming keeps firing up, and then here's Jim Duggan. He's got his wood out, and he whacks people with his wood. And then they do some WCWWrestling.com stuff, which, by the way, that website is no longer in service. I know, shocking, a company that's been dead for 21 years no longer has a website working. So anyway, Public Enemy, Rocco Rock, and Johnny Grunge taking on the Dancing Fools. Disco Inferno, The biggest dancing fool of them all, by the way. Disco Inferno was a goddamn joke and always, was an embarrassment to watch in the ring. Alex Wright and Tokyo Magnum. Remember Tokyo Magnum? Longtime WCW fans may remember him. If you were a casual WCW fan, you might be saying, who? Read up on the guy. He wasn't that bad, but he was a joke here. Who thought this was a good idea to give this match 15 pissing minutes on pay-per-view? I'm not saying throw 3 extra matches on the card, but some of the matches that went on forever had no business going that goddamn long. There were Disco Sucks chants, and they weren't talking about the music, they were talking about Disco Inferno, because Disco Inferno does suck, and the fact that he has brain parasites, where his brain used to be, and doesn't understand anything about wrestling, never has, never will, and the fact he's still alive and other legends that actually meant something have passed on is a real shame. Can we maybe bring back Randy Savage and put Disco Inferno in his place? Oh wait, Randy would be in heaven, Disco would be down in hell. So, Disco and Alex apparently decide, we want to make this street fight, so weapons get brought out. And then they go to the back, and the referee says, yeah, let's make it a street fight. So there's chairs, trash can lids, ice cube trays for some fucking reason. Disco Inferno bringing out some table, something less wooden than him, which is definitely saying something. And then they proceeded to have a sloppy street fight that absolutely meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing. I mean, the crowd cheered for a few things. Maybe they were just happy to see people go through furniture, because at this point they were probably just like, oh, shit's happening. We don't know what's happening because we're not wrestling fans. There was a mailbox used, cookie sheets, headshots. We get table chants. Yeah, Paul Heyman deserves to be brought up on crimes against wrestling for popularizing the tables. And Tokyo Magnum runs in. And then Disco gets left alone at one point, and then they stack up 3 tables. There's these trusses, this truss to climb up and, install these lights and everything, this overhead deal in case it rains, like it ever rains in August in South Dakota. Not that I know much about South Dakota, but judging by geography, I can't imagine it rains too much there at that point. Disco's on these 3 tables. Johnny Grunge puts him on that stuff, and then Rocco Rock climbs up and does this and smashes Disco through the tables. He smashes his head on the concrete stage, and not that it's going to affect Disco Inferno, because Disco didn't have a working brain from birth. When he was born, the doctor slapped his mother and said, how dare you bring this brain parasite on the goddamn universe? What the fuck's wrong with you? You should have practiced safe termination. Anyway, they roll Disco back in and get a cover 1, 2, 3. That was 15.5 minutes of pay-per-view time they devoted to that. 15.5 minutes. This is one of the worst pay-per-views WCW put on in 98, and they were cooking. They were doing some good stuff, even though the wheels were starting to come off. And soon after this, they would bring in Warrior for a brief stint. He would do that very long-winded, debut, and then he would wrestle a few matches on pay-per-view. And then he would take his ball and go home, because he was demanding too much goddamn money that even WCW didn't want to pay him. Because at that point, what good was Warrior besides marketing for a brief nostalgia pop? He couldn't work anymore. By the way, fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead. Why couldn't Disco have joined him? So, Saturn took on Raven and Canyon. Well, actually, it was a 3-way, but the idea was, is Canyon with Raven? Is he with Saturn? Lodi was there also. It's a Raven's Rules match, which means, oh boy, we get more weapons involved. Now look, had they not had that first tag match turn into a street fight, this would have meant something. Had they had this on before that match turned into a street fight, this would have meant something more. The idea was Saturn wanted to free the members of the flock. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world, and actually, despite the haphazard way that they did it, and the messiness of it, and the fact that Raven has self-admitted that he wasn't in the best frame of mind, the flock storyline wasn't that bad. And breaking up the flock was kind of goddamn cool. Happened to Nitro right after Fall Brawl. Big moment where Saturn had what? No, I take that back. It actually happened at Fall Brawl, and Billy Kidman beat Hoovy on the next Nitro. The same Nitro where Ric Flair returned to a huge pop in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was Charlotte, I believe. It was Charlotte, not Greensboro. Whichever would have been a big pop. So, whose side was Canyon on? Who better than Canyon? Man, poor Canyon. I'm sure Canyon was very, very uncomfortable around all these guys. if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, poor Canyon. So conflicted and dealing with issues, and the fact that he didn't want people to know he was gay. Just, it's a real shame. It's a real shame what happened to Canyon. So at one point, they battle up the stage, ramping up the tension, as it were, and then Horace Boulder, a.k.a. Horace Hogan, Terry Boulder, Horace Boulder, do you get it? Do you get it? Lodi gets involved. And then we get Powder and Stop Signs and a DVD on Raven 1, 2, 3. Again, about 13 minutes of pay-per-view. Of pay-per-view time devoted to this. Ray versus Psychosis. 2 Hispanics in front of thousands of predominantly white bikers. I'm sure this was fine. I'm sure they didn't have to edit anything. So, Ray was coming off of knee surgery. He had had it, I think, just after, excuse me, just after Sold Out 1998, where Jericho took him out. And he was going to battle Psychosis. This was almost a number one contenders match because Ray was going to be in the running, so was Psychosis. I say Psychosis should have left the mask on because he honestly, when he took it off, he kind of looked like the type of person that neighborhoods would warn each other about. But nevertheless, it was good, but the crowd sucked. They were popping for a few things. And also, it doesn't help it was open air, so any cheers were going up to the fucking sky, along with, you know, their blood alcohol level. Psychosis with good groundwork. Ray fires back at Rana 1, 2, 3. Not a bad match. It was certainly better than the other shit we saw. And then we get shots of Sturgis. Chavo comes out with Pepe, the toy horse that he had. Don't ask, because that toy horse, it was more charismatic than Chavo Guerrero Jr. could ever hope to be. Concussed goddamn idiot that still wants to defend Chris Benoit. I don't care if you worked with him. Anybody that wants to still defend Chris Benoit, oh, he was a great worker. He murdered his fucking family. No defending that. His son should not try to get into wrestling. It's not going to work. Anyway, WCW TV title match against Stevie Ray. Who was the TV champion? Who cared? Chavo was dressed like a goof. He tried to run from Stevie and also hit some offense. And eventually, slapjack Stevie's version of the pedigree. 1, 2, 3. This was like 2.5 minutes. And was probably about 2 minutes longer than it needed to be. Stevie says, I'm not finished with Chavo. And then Eddie comes down after they had had a hair versus hair match. And Chavo has started to cut his hair short. Eddie basically says, well, you know, Stevie, I got no problem with you. I want to talk to Chavo. Okay. Jericho then says that he will keep the Cruiserweight Championship. It's amazing to see what Chris Jericho was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and now you see him as a bloated beanbag chair that's a goddamn idiot that can't admit that he should have fucking hung it up a number of years ago. He may be getting a lot of money, but any dignity that he had remaining, he pissed down his fucking leg, or he drank away. Either or. So, Rick Steiner versus Scott Steiner doesn't happen because J.J. Dillon said he hit Scott in the head with a chair recently. He needs time to recover. And then Buff Bagwell shows up with Scott Steiner on a gurney. Quick question, if you have somebody on a gurney like that, wouldn't you be taking them to the hospital? Does Sturgis have a hospital? Can Sturgis spell hospital? Nevertheless, I don't understand exactly why they thought this was good. Because, yes, it was supposed to be like, oh, you hurt Scott. But wouldn't he be in a hospital? And also Buff had his injured neck and everything. And this was playing the Fall Brawl and Halloween Havoc and everything and stuff like that. And they could have turned Buff babyface, but they didn't want to bother doing that. So, JJ says, the match will happen at Fall Brawl. And Scott, if you don't show up, you will be suspended. And then Scott rises up back on his feet. And then Rick chases after them. And this was an endless segment that took forever. It was an angle. And the crowd booed heavily when they found out they were going to get this match. Or they just booed because the beer ran out. I'm thinking that it's the latter. Brian Adams, with not that one, not the summer of '69, but Crush, Kona Crush as it were. And taking on Mongo. Vincent was in Brian Adams' corner. This is one of Mongo's last pay-per-view matches. I think his last actual pay-per-view match was World War III 98. And his last WCW match was sometime right after Super Brawl 99. Actually, I think it was a couple weeks before. Who thought this was a good idea to put on pay-per-view? Look, I feel bad for Mongo. Mongo's going through a lot of illness. I feel bad. I really do feel bad. Apparently, he was a nice guy. Apparently, he was really easy to work with, even though he didn't know what he was doing. He wanted to learn. He wanted to get better, and he was a good athlete. I still will never forgive WCW for giving him and Reggie White 15 fucking minutes on pay-per-view. That was Bash at the Beach. It was Great American Bash or Bash at the Beach 97. It was one of the two. Might have been Slamboree. Whole point is, Mongo was not meant for long matches. We get a ref bump. Vincent accidentally hits Brian with a chair, and then we get a spike tombstone. 1, 2, 3. 6.5 minutes. Then we get Juventud Guerrero versus Chris Jericho for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, and Dean Malenko as a referee. This is after Dean Malenko had won the Cruiserweight title, and Jericho did the conspiracy victim thing, and then had gotten the title back. But Dean Malenko was a special guest referee. He had to call it right down the middle, Daddy, and it would be fine. Well, Jericho fired up the crowd, angering them, when it turns out that he would actually try to be like them a number of years later, because he's been going through a midlife crisis for about the last 20 years. And the action was good. At one point we got bike revving because they were either wasting gas. I wonder how much gas was wasted. How much these motorcycle rallies took off of the ozone layer. So, Hoovy fires back. Dean gets inadvertently involved sometimes, and at one point, even though he got poked in the eye, he was trying to count down, and then Jericho got upset and slapped him. And then Jericho tries to kick Hoovy off, kicks Dean on accident, and then Dean launches Hoovy up, gets him in a Rana, 1, 2, 3, new Cruiserweight champion. He would lose it to Billy Kidman about 5 weeks later, and Jericho would be upset, and then Dean would lay him out afterwards because, in all honesty, the storyline kind of ended with a whimper. It's unfortunate. The big pop that Dean Malenko got when he was revealed himself as Cyclope, that was fucking great. So, we go to an NWO Invitational Battle Royal with Scott Hall, The Giant, Nash, Hennig, Konnan, Sting, Norton, Luger, and Goldberg. I want to say that match again. An NWO Invitational Battle Royal where Goldberg said, I want to be in this. I have an undefeated streak and I could lose because I'm a klutz and I'm an idiot, but include me in this. Okay. You know what you could have done? You could have had Goldberg in the main event and made a 6-man and had the Disciple in there. But nevertheless, Nash wanted Hall. Hall got tossed out. Nash eliminated himself. He was attacking Hall because he wants to do tough love on his best friend. Goldberg was just being sloppy as hell, as is tradition. But also, it's hard to do stuff in a battle royal when you have this many moving parts. It was only 9 people and about, 18,000 fucking egos. But Goldberg did end up, eliminating most people. Luger got eliminated. That's back when Luger has legs under him and could actually stand up for himself, but can't anymore. Ha ha ha. So anyway, then a jackhammer to the Giant, an impressive move. Very impressive because the Giant was very, very large at this point. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So over the top, and pinfall. Because fuck it. I don't think the Giant was going to take the over-the-top bump anyway, so there you go. And then Michael Buffer does intros that take about 14 fucking years. And then Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff with Miss Elizabeth and the Disciple, a.k.a. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Yes, I was actually shocked when I found out it was Brutus Beefcake, because for some reason it didn't register with me, because he looked different. I was also 17 when the Disciple gimmick, when he came out as the Disciple, so I didn't know everything. Hell, I still don't know everything. I'm just a fan. This is just observations from me. This is just observations. That was grammatically correct. They took on DDP and Jay Leno with Kevin Eubanks. I'm going to say again, Jay Leno in a fucking goddamn main event. It should have been DDP and Goldberg against Hogan and the Disciple. And if you wanted to have Bischoff and Leno do a couple spots, fine. God damn it, this was embarrassing. Leno had Hogan in an arm. I'm not going to say Leno didn't try. I'm not going to say he didn't. But you're getting a big chin talk show host or whatever, a guy that looks like, if you actually put his face in a mold and you tried to actually put it on a mantle, it'd crack the goddamn mantle and fall into the Earth's core because it's so big. Almost as big as Giant Bob and Antonio Inoki. But nevertheless, he gets an armbar on Hogan and holds it, and Hogan's like, and I bet he wanted to call Kevin Eubanks a certain word, if you know what I mean. And then With melee, mess, it's all over the goddamn place. Once the referee's distracted, Diamond Cutter from Kevin Eubanks to Bischoff. Leno covers 1, 2, 3. Goldberg runs out, spears people, and celebrates. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Sure, it got them publicity, but let's take a look at Fall Brawl, Halloween Havoc, World War III, Starrcade 98. Trajectory. And then it just got worse by Sold Out 99. Because no one cared, because they killed the Golden Goose, they did the finger poke of doom and everything, and it's astonishing seeing how WCW went down so quickly after being the king for a while and getting on upward momentum and building some momentum and getting some great talent and everything and overpaying the talent and doing all this great stuff and everything, and the pay-per-views are doing well, and you know, their ratings were doing really well and everything, and they were competing with WWE, and they were getting great talent from them, and they were doing this, and then Tony Khan blew the, oh, I'm sorry. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to fucking repeat it. Yeah. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.